Is everybody ready?
I saw a guy at the shops who was buying some chops. With a 10-gallon hat on his head, he looked tops. George Bernard Shaw said to never wrestle with a pig, so I never have and I never will, you dig?
Hey, how you floating? It's Bo. So I'm just here to really announce that the video that we're now watching was supposed to come out last night, but it got copyright claimed within, of course, the minute that it was uploaded and everything like that, and it was claimed for footage that I didn't even really use. I got claimed for using the Errol Spence Jr. versus Yordenis Ugas fight. I got claimed for using that footage, and it was specifically Showtime pay-per-views footage. But I was using PBC's footage, and it was between Cruz and Gamboa. And to be honest, regardless if they actually happen to be affiliated with one another, you cannot just loosely go around making stakes and copyright claims on videos or on footage that isn't even the actual footage. That's just 100% wrong. It's just abusing YouTube's incredibly flawed copyright system. I genuinely, probably have to deal with this, probably gonna have to deal with it and everything like that, but yo, this is fucking ridiculous, man. Like, I apologize, but hey, let's get into it though.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when right now.
It's cringeworthy from our standpoint.
Hey, how you floating? It's Bo, and welcome back to another rendition of the 1-2, where we discuss any and all things boxing. Today's topic is really just trying to figure out what the hell happened to Gamboa, dude. Yuriorkis Gamboa, a boxer fighting out of Cuba, who was the former lightweight champion of the world, and I'm not gonna lie, with a standing record of 30 wins and 5 losses, is not actually too bad. Not too bad. But also, at the end of the day, I will be the very first person to say that I'm way less interested in talking about, let's say, the 18 KOs out of his 30 wins. I'm more here to talk about his 5 wins and 4 KOs, and just how I honestly do think that, if anything, he's just had a really bad string of luck, and honestly, badass opponents that we all knew he wasn't ever going to be able to really take down. Now, out of the 5 losses in which he actually did take, his very first one did happen to come by the hands of Terrence Crawford. And I'm going to be honest, dude, I will have to really give him the benefit of the doubt for this one. This is Terrence Bud Crawford that we are talking about here. The upper echelon, the number 1. The only person that I could genuinely say is probably never going to be beaten, like, within his time frame, like within his era. I genuinely think that Bud Crawford is going to stay undefeated for as long as he decides to stay in that squared circle. Now, the fight was fairly back and forth, though. Do not get me wrong. It was. But the only problem is that just stylistically speaking, Gamboa was never actually going to be able to, let's say, fully capitalize on somebody like Bud, who is able to just download information and legitimately be able to adapt to a fight so easily, sometimes within a round, or sometimes like give him more than like 2, and god, he's most likely already got you figured out. And that's really what happened this time around. He got down with his rhythm, he got good with the timing, and just honestly had to put homeboy down for his first L. It really does suck, but after tasting defeat for the very first time, Gamboa was ready to get back into the ring, stay hungry, and become champion once again. But I ain't gonna lie, dude. His second loss, I didn't even expect it really, like, let me just show you. Robinson Castellanos is an individual that I just now figured out existed today. And for whatever reason, you wouldn't actually think that Gamboa would lose to somebody with a record that is anywhere near 24-14, but man, that just goes to show you that boxing really is an entire sport of ABC or rock, paper, scissors. Goodness gracious. For whatever it was, I think that Castellanos just had more experience than him, period. So that's just what made the fight itself honestly better. And then on top of that, the hands down style was just going to be pretty damn easy to pick apart with somebody like Castellanos, who was always known to be a really good Mexican fighter, period, but also was a really good traditionalist. Homeboy does his homework, and he's able to put the 1-2 down on anybody if ever really need be. And that's unfortunately what happened to Gamboa this time around. He got his ass knocked down, I think, in the 2nd round, and then fully knocked out like in the 8th. So it's one of them really rare cases where you wouldn't actually think that a guy like this would lose to a guy like this. But yo, get this shit though as well though, right? One of Castellanos' losses actually comes from this young man not young man, hell no, he's like old as hell actually, by the name of Orlando Salido. The thing about Orlando Salido is that, sure, while Gamboa may have been able to beat Orlando Salido, but he wasn't able to actually go ahead and secure the win against Castellanos. Castellanos was the one who lost against Salido. And you're probably sitting here thinking, okay, well, what the hell does Salido have to do with anything? Why are we even bringing up his name like this? He was the first person to beat Vasily Lomachenko. I'm being so fucking serious. I just had to, finding out this information today, first of all, was fun. Secondly, makes videos like this 10 times more interesting. But also, third, who in the hell is Orlando Salido, dude? Besides all that, though, his third loss actually came by the hands of Gervonta Tank Davis, a fighter who I am positive everybody here is familiar with. But also, I knew damn well that the minute that this fight was announced, Tank was going to be walking away with the W very, very easily. I'm positive at this point in time, Gamboa was probably already, I think, 37, 38. And if anything, anyone that knows anything about sports, period, anything that is highly physical, like football, boxing, or basketball, 30 is usually around that time where it's like, okay, bro, you're a done deal. At this point in time, we could really pack you up and send you off to where the hell you actually need to be. Usually in retirement, with either no rings or no fucking championship moniker to actually, go home with. And no matter how much I may have wanted for the fight to be back and forth, it really was not. Davis found very little problem with picking apart Gamboa and keeping him on his toes the entire night. And for whatever it is, God, bro, just even looking at this very last knockout, this uppercut genuinely put some permanent damage onto that man's head. Don't want to fuck around and say that it possibly concussed him like how it most likely did in his Terrence Crawford fight, but yeah, getting hit by Tank is never really a good thing, period. Now on to the last two fighters, the first being Devin Haney and the second being Isaac Cruz. Now, I will say this shit right now, the fight with Devin Haney was mid. I know that word has just really lost all forms of just actual meaning and general grounding, but let me just say this right now, the best way to describe the fight. He just got outboxed, and it was nothing more than that at all. Didn't really sustain any kind of crazy injuries, no knockdowns or anything crazy like that, none whatsoever. But Isaac Cruz, on the other hand, this was a fight that I actually felt bad sitting down and watching and witnessing, mainly due to the fact that I continue to forget that at this point in time, the man was 40 years old, and he was sitting here getting absolutely mopped by a young, fresh, hungry, damn near seemingly bloodthirsty Isaac Cruz. There's parts of me that really do sit here and think that, okay, y'all definitely must have had some problems outside of the ring before it got set up in here, because Isaac fought you like you owed him some money or some shit. There will also always be a part of me that will never be able to fully, let's say, be okay with seeing the final knockdown of this fight, because guys, just taking not only into account the fact that this man is 40 years old, he had got knocked down 3 separate times before the final one, and due to the fact that his body just completely went limp whenever he crashed into the ropes after receiving that overhand right. It was something that, I ain't gonna lie, I never get fucking hype about seeing. It really just makes me feel a little bit bad and sad. But also at the end of the day, I really shouldn't. Yuriorkis Gamboa is still a fantastic former champion and a lightweight that, at the end of the day, me nor you would try to whoop on the side of the road. So let's not play. And with a record of 30 wins and 5 losses, 4 of those coming by way of some of the best fighters within this era and also in my generation, I can genuinely say that Yuriorkis Gamboa is the farthest thing from a bad boxer. He just happened to be, I'm not gonna lie, turning 40 years old around this time where, gosh, everybody that he had basically already faced that was an upper echelon had beat him. And anyone else that was on the come up, like Isaac Cruz, was just already on a completely different level from where the old era was at. Truth be told, I genuinely did not think that I was ever even going to be making this video about Yuriorkis, but there are so many fighters that are actually just like him, where their record does not hold a candle to the kind of skill, prowess, and how good this individual actually was, just not solely looking at the negative. Losses are always going to be losses, especially in a sport like boxing, but for whatever it is, a former champion like Yuriorkis Gamboa has nothing else left to prove. If anything, I'm very, very proud of him and everything in which he has done. And I think you probably should be as well.